Hey VC, it's Tim. So in this video, this is a continuation of my contest entry into the Blind Islands 100 subs contest. If you didn't see his contest in that video, you're supposed to pick 10 albums that give you joy and then blindly pick three and talk about them. And this is going to be the 7 albums that were left over from that. So first off, starting off, I have what I have on the turntable now, which is Louise Bonfa. This was recorded in 1962. I think it came out in 1963. But so a little backstory. I kind of know Isaac. He works at this record store that I frequent, so we live in the same town. And this was actually something he suggested to me one day. I came into the record store. He asked me what the flavor of the day was, and I said bossa nova because I really like bossa nova music a lot. And he suggested this album. It was only like $6, and yeah, it's really relaxing. It's in the same realm as Wow Gilberto, which is he's my favorite bossa nova singer right now, and so yeah, these albums are harder to come by in Wisconsin here, but I was happy to find this, and yeah, this is really good. Just kind of guy in with guitar and other kind of like musicians backing him, but yeah, like I said, really relaxing, very relaxed. Good for any time of the day or any season, because if it's warm out, it hits the feeling, and then if it's cold out, you can feel like you're in a warmer place. But yeah, so this has a gatefold and shows him right there. Talks about his experience, how he knew Wow Gilberto grew. He was in Rio de Janeiro, where a lot of bossa nova happened at the time. And bossa nova, if you didn't know, was like very popular in America in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s. So yeah, a lot of these American versions of bossa nova is a lot cheaper. This is on the Verb label. So there is that. Second, I have the Turtles, Turtle Soup. This album came out in 1960. What was it? Was it 68 or 1969? But this is a 1986 reissue on Rhino Records. And yeah, this is just a really good pop album. It's not really psych, but it's just really good pop from the 60s. Here's the back of that. Yeah, and this was really cheap. This was only like $4, and I think even finding their original album of this is only like $5 to $6. But I mean, the first track, "You Don't Have to Walk in the Rain," is really hits hard. It's a great track. And then the whole rest of the album is just a really good example of like American pop music. It doesn't really have a it has a Beatles influence, but it doesn't come off as sounding like Beatles-esque. So yeah, I'd check that out if you don't know about them. Next is the Hair soundtrack. I wasn't really into this when I was younger, just because it was like a Broadway play. But after listening to this for a while, it's a really good album. It kind of is on, it's really like on the border of like psych and kind of funk. And I mean, this is a really cheap album. It's only $1. And of course, the first track on here is Aquarius, and then the last track on side 2 is the Flesh Failures, Let the Sun Shine In, which the Fifth Dimension brilliantly just put together as one medley and made like, one of the greatest songs of all time out of that. But this is just, it's a good album. It talks about drugs and it's really like of the time for what was happening when it came out, and I believe it came out in 1968. This album did. I don't know exactly when this originally came out, but yeah, this is really cheap, only $1. I'm sure a lot of people in the VC know about that, but there's that one. Next is the Beacon of Hope Chapel Singers Over the Walls. This is a private press from the Kansas State Penitentiary. And if you look on the back here, you can see that they're in their cell block right there. And then here they are in the practice room. But yeah, this is a group of it looks about 12 to 15 prisoners made this album. And this is a gospel album, but it's really more kind of like gospel soul. It has kind of that 60s kind of soul sound, but even though this came out in 1971, and the last track is a medley. It's called The Impossible Dream with Let the Sunshine In. And Let the Sunshine In is the last track on the Hair soundtrack. And it's more of a reprise on this album, and it's just really awesome because it's like you think the track is over, and then all of a sudden the piano kicks in, and then the whole choir starts singing Let the Sunshine In, and everyone starts clapping his hands, and then the lead singer, of course, is doing the very soulful talking about letting the sunshine in and all that. So yeah, and this album I found it on Pop Psych, and I liked the cover, and then I read a review about it, and then I went, and it was very favorable, and I went on Discogs to try to find it, and there was this copy which was $5. There was another copy that was $50, and another copy that was $85. So I decided to buy it just on that without really even sampling it. I couldn't find it anywhere online, but yeah, definitely really good. I wouldn't suggest trying to buy it because I think it's probably going to be a little expensive now, but if you find it for cheap, pick it up. And I'll just show the label since it's a private press. It's on the Caravan Custom Recordings out of Missouri. And yeah, really cool album. Some people might be off-put by it because of the gospel aspect of it. There's a lot of God on it, but I don't know. I'm able to overlook that and really enjoy the music. But next up is Simon and Garfunkel's album Bookends from 1968. This is their fifth album. And I think every track on here is pretty much a banger. A lot of this you hear on the oldies station, and I'm always like, man, what album is that on? And then, yeah. But Simon & Garfunkel, this is really cheap. I paid 50 cents for this, but that was way back in 2002. Not that I've been collecting that long, but yeah. Really good album. Faking It on side 2, and then also on side 2, A Hazy Shade of Winter. That's just an awesome song for fall. And then At the Zoo. And yeah, I'd say this is a Psych album. I've heard other people say it's a Psych album, so I definitely check that out. Simon Garfunkel is really cheap. Next up is Belle and Sebastian's first album, Tiger Milk. This album is something that reminds me of college. It's very hipster. I was quite a hipster in college. It was the early, middle 2000s, 2004, 2005. This is the kind of stuff that I listen to. It's pseudo-intellectual. Girls with pixie haircuts, guys that carry the moleskin around, and I don't know. That's what kind of what I was, I guess you'd say. But this is this is their first album, so it's really good. This is before they got really kind of tainted by the music industry, and their fans just encouraged them to keep making music. Not that, I don't know, their later stuff, I don't think it's that good. I go to about their fourth album. But yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. It's just something for me that like reminds me of a specific time in my life that I just kind of still carry with me. So yeah. And then last, I have Grover Washington's album Mr. Magic. This came out in 1975. This is on the Motown label. This is a jazz album. This is a soul jazz album, and it's a little cheese ball. It's something that you might hear at like the grocery store or like elevator music, but it's still really good. And all of his albums are like pretty cheap. He's on the Kudo label, and then this one's on the Motown, and a lot of the stuff is produced by Creed Taylor. So yeah, and he also usually has like really good musicians, and there is really good musicianship on this, even though, you know, some of it, I mean, even the cover is like, you know, a little cheesy, you know, like here's the hot guy coming out of the water, right? So but yeah, his stuff's cheap. Like I said, this was like $4, so if you find it, or at least sample it on YouTube. But anyways, yeah, so that's my video. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good night. I hope the coronavirus isn't really affecting anyone too much. I mean, I know I'm getting a little antsy, but I've been walking around. But yeah, let me know in the comments what albums bring you joy, and if you entered Blind Island's contest, I encourage you to make a video showing the 7 albums that you didn't show in that video. So anyways, take care, have a good night.